Hi, Max. Nice to have you today for my little interview about data product management.
Thanks for having me on the calendar, Francie.
Sure. I'm very excited to interview a little bit. And maybe let's start with a question about your journey to data product management. What do you think what brought you to data product management, and how has your background influenced now your approach to data product management?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Francie. For me, I think it was somehow a coincidence, but also an obvious choice, because during my studies, which was information systems, it was clear to me that every company will think in data. And if I remember my first days at my first job, being a product manager, I realized that there is no data at all in many parts of the company, but also in the product, which back in the days was the Thermomix. So for me, it was clear that to build a better product, we have to gain insights, not only over qualitative feedback from customers, which was existing and was great, but also to gain insights how they use the product. So for me, it was obvious that, hey, if I want to become a great product manager for a digital and hardware product, I need to get data. And I think that's how my data product management journey also, of course, it was not obvious that it will end up in data product management started. So yeah, that's how I came to data product management from the very early days.
Thanks for sharing this journey. Now I wonder, did you have any lessons learned that you would not do anymore how you have done them in the past, because you realized, this didn't work out like I wanted to and didn't bring like business value?
Yes, definitely. I mean, there are tons of learnings. So first of all, one learning, and maybe it's a bit contrary to the approach, being a data product manager, data is not everything. Data is an essential part and it should be playing a big role. But as a product manager, you have to really balance out different needs, right? Data might be always right, or at least in many cases, depends on who is interpreting the data sometimes. But there are also business needs that need to be covered, might be time-wise, budget-wise, strategy-wise, most importantly. How does maybe a decision or also insights map to the data and also business strategy? So really, I would say, don't overestimate that data is everything, but also consider the different needs and movements in a company to be successful. Because just being right doesn't mean getting where you want to be. And I think that's the strength of a product manager, seeing different perspectives, different angles on your products, on the business, and trying to bring everyone on board and make your product successful. And again, data is one dimension out of it. So that's a lesson I had to learn. Just presenting data, knowing you're right, doesn't mean it's getting where you want to get your product or maybe also your career. So yeah, that's one lesson to share.
Very interesting. Sounds like you have to look a bit more at the big picture and also think about processes and people who are involved and all of that. So maybe thinking about someone wants to become a data product manager, can you share any tips or things that they should pay attention to in their journey of becoming a data product manager?
Yes, of course. So I think, and that's interestingly enough, and that is true also for product management as a bigger whole, but also specifically for data product management, there is no study called data product management or product management at all. So I think what's interesting to see is that people are moving up into those roles and they have certain strengths, as I also mentioned before. So I have seen designers becoming product managers because they understood the bigger picture than just maybe design. I saw business analysts becoming product managers because they had a great view on the business side of a product. And also I saw developers becoming product managers because they said, it's nice to create impact on code level. Maybe my impact is even greater if I can drive a whole product. And that's exactly true for data product managers. So many people, they are coming with a data background also into this discipline, but I've also seen business stakeholder becoming data product managers. I think what's important for every product manager, you need to know your strengths. Are you a technical person with a great technical skill? Are you really a business expert with business skills? Are you a data scientist now being a data product manager? So you have strong data core. So why I'm saying this is you need to know what are your weaknesses so you can find the people who are basically filling the gaps in your, let's say, perspective. So, for example, if you are a great software engineer and you moved up into a product management role, maybe you have to find a really strong business partner to drive the product forward. Or if you're a business partner, maybe you have to really find an engineer that maybe helps you also living up the role of a product or data product manager. So identifying your gaps and really composing a team around you that really helps you driving the product is important. And I mean, to give some easy recommendations, I mean, reading up books, right? I mean, about product management and also data product management. There are nice articles, but also books. I mean, Marty Cagan, godfather of modern product management for digital products, is worth a read. He moved lately also in different perspectives, which I not only agree with, but I think that's also good that we have, let's say, vibrant product management community where different perspectives are, let's say, built over time.
So now I'm curious, what are those perspectives, if you can elaborate a bit further, and why do you agree with them?
So maybe good to know first is that I've experienced myself product management without reading any book. And when I read Marty Cagan's book, which I didn't really fully read because actually I stopped at some point, but it was funny because the thing is books are not changing, right? But you are changing because you have more experience. So when I read the book, I had a lot of experience already, and it felt like I could have read that book because it was really for me on spot what I've lived through the years before. So it was really nice. But now what was a little bit of a breaking moment is, I think he wrote in an article or in a blog post, he said, if you are a software engineer in a bank or in the finance sector, get a new job.
Oh.
Because he was probably so frustrated maybe with customers or whatever. And I think that's not a good approach, right? We as product managers and also engineers, we should help companies to become more digital, to drive transformation and not just give up and say, hey, let's go somewhere else. So that's something where he went a bit radical, I would say, with those people nobody can help. And I think that's not true. And we have to help those companies. And besides, I think he's a super great guy. But this was one point where I was saying, I'm not sure if this goes in the right direction now.
Okay, so I got it wrong before. I understood you agree with it, but you actually disagree.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
kind of. Maybe it was not so much about the product management methodology he's proposing, but rather a general opinion on where product managers should move. And basically he said, if you're in the finance sector, get out of it. And I'm saying, maybe we can help them as well. I know it's demanding. It's very demanding to work in a company that maybe knows they need product management, but they really don't understand and you need to fight. But it can be also very rewarding if you basically get there, right? And maybe implement also product management into this organization. So yeah, it's a difficult situation sometimes.
And now that you mentioned that, do you have any tips or maybe a step-by-step guide or something like that? If someone struggles to maybe convince a party that data product management makes sense for the company, what would be your arguments that it does make sense and can bring benefits?
Yes. I think it's sometimes difficult, and that's not only true for data, but it's also true for digital products. Just that digital products maybe are a bit more advanced and commonly known already. Why? Because they're not non-physical. So I can remember board meetings, again, working for Thermomix, it was a lot of hardware and it was then slowly digital. So whenever you had to convince somebody to build something, if you have hardware, you can build a prototype, put it on the table and say, hey, this is what we want, right? And you can feel and you can touch. And that for many people is much more easy to understand, right? And then digital, you also build prototypes, sometimes, website, whatever, a prototype, which is sometimes, sometimes it's tangible, sometimes it's rather not. But then you have data products like models, for example. I mean, how to demonstrate. So this visualization and demonstrating, making it tangible is something very important. And if these are good slides, or even we have worked with storytelling and videos to demonstrate what things are doing, is a tip. Yeah, and then definitely, I mean, if you think from a different perspective, if a company owns assets.
Mhm.
They have a process for maintaining those assets, right? And building those assets. And so assets could be, for example, also the offices. So like really physical objects, right? Like housing, apartments, whatever. For there, it's totally clear that you have to build asset management around it. And so if you just take this analogy to the data world, you build data assets and data products. Of course, somebody needs to take care of it. And this is data product management. So actually, it should be quite easy to understand why you need it and also see the value of optimizing the asset portfolio. So I think there are a lot of analogies that we can take and learn from. So yeah, I think that helps to abstract towards a more tangible example, as I mentioned before.
Mhm. And knowing that data product management requires a lot of collaboration between the data team and the business team, if you would have to write a dictionary that has a lot of words in there that you never have to explain again, what would be your top 3 words you would like to put in there that you never have to explain them again?
Data products, number 1.
Okay.
Because this is, I mean, still a huge discussion, and there's a lot of translation still existing, which is good. But I think slowly but surely, I think the data community, together with the business, is defining this more and more. And it's mostly a first step also to find common ground, which is great. Number two. I mean, I could say data product management again, but actually I tried to explain it with an example, so that would be maybe not too good. But maybe I keep it. And what else?
I think we should
I think I would rather explain, for example, let's take data mesh as an example.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what I try always to explain is they are great concepts and ideas, and then there's reality. And how can we adopt from the theory things into the reality? Because the theory is mostly good and right, but then reality sometimes is very different. So for example, I don't believe that data mesh in its core and pure form will ever exist, but it will be a mix. And a mix is not bad, it's just the reality, right? Because different domains and business domains will grow in different maturity levels, faster, slower over time. So it's a target picture that we probably never reach, but the ideas are still good. But I think often we have to explain that, okay, I want data mesh, so this is exactly what we need to do now, and just in maybe, I don't know, months or quarter or half a year, and it's a journey, right? So this whole concept of data mesh is one example, and why I'm saying that it's about data hypes. Gen AI is also a hype, and again, it's great, it's amazing what we can do nowadays. But I think what I want to bring maybe into the discussion is a strong opinion of myself that data product management is not a hype, but it's here to stay. Why? Because look at product management. There have been tons of hypes. Web 2.0, crypto, whatever it was there. Mobile was a big theme in 2010. So those are all hypes, but product managers needs to basically navigate to all the hypes and see how those hypes can benefit the products or the companies, right? And it's the same for data product management. So it's not just another hype that's going on at the moment, but those are the people you need. Every company needs to navigate basically those hypes and rather take the bullshit out and see how those hypes can really benefit the company, the products, or the company on its entire. Because every hype has some good in it, right? There's no hype because it's just a hype, most probably. But how do you put the hype away and come to the core of how it can benefit? And this is what data product management should do. So management should not worry about all the hypes, but there are people who manage the hypes and bring the best out of the hypes into the company or product. So that's maybe not for the dictionary, but it's something that I encounter so often that it was worth sharing somehow.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, just looking at data product management itself, I mean, it puts in the focus the why am I doing something and how can I bring value to the company with the data that I have, right? And also at scale, instead of jumping on the wagon of the next trendy thing. So I would agree with you there. So.
And I think maybe one last comment to this, if okay.
Sure.
Their data product managers are not only navigating the hype, but they also build the foundations with their team to leverage the hypes. I mean, now every top level manager says Gen AI everywhere in the company, please, but nobody took care of the data quality and foundations the last years, right? I mean, of course, we took care of it, but maybe not to the extent it would have been needed to leverage new trends fully. So also keep that in mind. Maybe that yeah, you need to invest also to then be able to actually ride the hypes or the waves of new topics. Yeah.